This is Anona's Worship, Grow, Serve, Live podcast for May 14th, 2023. Welcome, a Mother's Day Reflection with Reverend Richard Landon. This is one of our sermon series episodes produced by Anona United Methodist Church. For more information and video versions, visit anona.com/sermon series. If you're new to Anona and wish to learn more about our community, go to anona.com/welcome. And now for another great message.
Some call you Mama. Some call you Mommy. Some call you the most smartest. Some call you so funny. Some call you homework helper. Some call you higher. Some call you their hero, and also their taxi driver. Some call you Nana, or Abuela, or Mima. Some call you Mother. Please stop spoiling them all. Some call you a mentor. Some call you a friend. Some call you God's kindness for the mother they never had. Some call you from the beginning. Some call you much later. Some call you guardian or foster parent on paper. But paper never stopped you from showing up open-handed. You were no less the mother and the love God intended. Some call you joy, some call you graceful, some call you strength, some call you faithful, some call you constant, some call you care, some call you always, some call you there. Some call you the greatest, some call you the bomb. But I call you blessed. I call you Mom.
You know, one of the joys I sometimes get is I do this 3 times. And the first time I watch the video, and this time I watch you. You're beautiful. So, I am a husband. And in spite of that, every once in a while, not too often, but every once in a while, I get something right. This past Friday was one of those times where I got something right. We went out for dinner. We went to our favorite pizza place up in Safety Harbor. It's called Nona's. Nona's Pizza House. And we ordered our favorite pizza. It's a Detroit-style pizza, which means it's about this thick. And they put it in the oven, and it's in a pan, and it gets all crispy and crunchy and delicious. And the one that we particularly order is the meatball pizza. And it has mozzarella cheese, and it has ricotta cheese, and it has meatballs. And it is so good. And we headed out there because we were hungry. But as we headed out, I was like, what if we do this? It's Friday night. It's almost 5 o'clock. What if we don't eat at the pizza place? What if we do takeout? And normally we would do takeout where we could take it back home. But this time I said, what if let's pack a bag. Let's pick a bag up, and I'm that cheap, right? So I'm not going to pay for their Cokes if I don't have to. And so we packed up the Cokes and put them in there, cherry Cokes to be specific, just in case you're wondering. Linda got some cups with some ice in it, and we packed in the bag, and we went and picked up, I show up at the pizza place. It's 4:58, and there's already a line developing at the pizza place. And so I sort of shoot past them to get inside because it's actually an outdoor restaurant, but there's a little indoor place where you pick up the pizza. And I go in there, pay for the pizza, come walking back out, get in the truck, and we head down to Philippi Park for our pizza dinner together. And as soon as you pull into Philippi Park, it's right on the bay. And we pull in, and there's some picnic benches. And I'm like, let's just stop right here, right at the entrance. And we pull in, and we go to the picnic bench, open up the pizza, looks wonderful, tastes wonderful, pulled out our Cokes. Just a wonderful time sitting there. We talked to a few people that were walking by with their dogs and just enjoyed having a conversation. But then we decided to go for a walk. And whenever we walk at Philippi Park, we do the whole thing, all right? So we're at the front of it, and we're going to walk all the way to the back. And we would normally go along the road. But this time we said, let's walk along the water. And the problem with walking along the water is it's got some places where it's got a sidewalk. There's other places where there is no sidewalk. There's like a little path. There's people fishing, all that kind of stuff. You're trying to get around them. But that's what we decided to do. We're going to go for a walk along that side. And we saw so many cool things along the way. I saw a couple of cardinals. I always see them in twos. Are they always in twos? Because every time I see them, it's like they're in twos, right? And I was educated by the choir who knows all that the red one is the male, right? And the sort of pale brownish one, love you, right? That's the female one, and we watched them flitter around a little bit. And I was trying to get pictures of them, and then we were walking a little bit further, and I saw a woodpecker. Woodpecker was on the side of a palm tree down low and pecking away at the tree. Then we started walking down along the water, and normally when we're walking, there's a point to our walking, and that's called getting our steps in, all right? And so sometimes we're just walking to walk, but this particular occasion, we were stopping and looking. So like Linda's looking over the edge of the seawall and trying to see if there's any crabs down there, because her mom's full Korean, and she used to cast nets. Right? And she didn't know how to swim, but she'd get out into the water up to like here, and she'd be like throwing casting nets, and it was just making her think of her mom. And so she's looking for crabs. And then as we're looking, we saw a bunch of needlefish, and little schools of needlefish. These are the Richard Landons of the ocean, all right? Because they're skinny, right? So if you want to see a skinny, scrawny fish, like Richard on land, that's what you would see in the water, right? So there's these cute little pinfish swimming around, needlefish. Then Linda notices that there's a stingray, right? And the stingray is going along the seawall and out there, and we're watching it until it sails off, and we started walking again. And all of a sudden I hear this, like a weird blowing noise, almost like if you've ever been snorkeling and you go to blow out the snorkel tube, that sound, right? I'm like, that was weird. And stopped for a second. I'm like, let's stop and look, because I thought maybe it's a dolphin. How cool would it be, just get to see a dolphin out there. And I was like, it doesn't sound like a dolphin. I wonder if it's a manatee. And sure enough, it was a manatee. We just stood there for a little bit, and all of a sudden the head of the manatee came up, and then there was a second manatee that popped up, and we got to see both of those, and people were walking along, and we're all pulling out our cameras, and we're leaning against the railing, just enjoying the moment. All of that is wonderful and good, but that's not the thing that I got right. The thing I got right was the fact that we went. The thing I got right was noticing when Linda came home that day. Because on that day, we try and get Thursdays and Fridays off. So if I don't have anything going on with the church, services or anything like that, we try and get a Thursday, Friday off. This was a Friday, and so this was our day off. But when I preach, my day off typically is preparing for you today, all right? So I was sitting at home during the sermon, but during the day, Linda was out doing some running around, and you all know that she lost her dad, all right, a little while ago, and she lost her mom late last year. And we're having a lot of issues with trying to get things sort of sewed up. And so she was at the Social Security office trying to get things handled there because there's a problem there. She went to the bank because we're having a problem with a situation there. She went to their mobile home and she was trying to clean it up. And when she came walking in, I did something right. And the thing that I did right was I pulled my nose out of my computer and I looked up and I saw her face. And I said, having seen that face, how about if we go out for dinner? How about if we take a little break? How about if I take a break and you take a break and we take that break together? And we got to enjoy a wonderful evening together, seeing all of those different things and enjoying our favorite pizza. Guys, so often we see things, but we don't really see. things. You know what I'm saying? You don't notice. You don't observe. You don't really catch the thing that you're seeing, and it just passes you by. And whenever we do that, it keeps us from loving the way that God really wants us to love. Let's look at some scripture. This is from Genesis chapter 18. The Lord appeared to Abraham by the oaks of Mamre as he sat at the entrance of his tent to hear in the heat of the day. He looked up and he saw 3 men standing near him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent entrance to meet them and bowed down to the ground. He said, "My Lord, if I find favor with you, do not pass by your servant. Let a little water be brought and wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. Let me bring a little bit of bread that you may refresh yourselves, and after that you may pass on, since you've come to your servant." So they said to him, "Do as you've said." And Abraham hastened into the tent to Sarah and said, "Make ready quickly 3 measures of choice flour, knead it and make cakes." Abraham ran to the herd and took a calf tender and good and gave it to the servant who hastened to prepare it. Then he took curds and milk and the calf that he prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree while they ate. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our Lord endures forever. If you're not hungry by now, I don't know what makes you hungry. Pizza, steak, right? All that kind of good stuff going on. There's a cool thing that's happening in this particular story, because in one sentence of this story, there's sort of an undoing or a redo of what happened in Genesis with Adam and Eve. And the verse went something like this. He looked up, and when he saw them, he ran not away from them, he ran to them. He ran from the tent entrance to meet them. Where Adam and Eve had distanced themselves from God, Abraham and Sarah, they seek to come close. Where Adam and Eve get to the place where they hide away, Abraham and Sarah welcome. And when they welcome, they don't just welcome, they welcome. They pull out all the stops. He's, right, get this, all right, he's running all over the place. Do you know how old he is at this point in the story? Right? He's 99 years old. You knew, that's right. 99 years old. 99 years old. And here he is running from place to place. He's running to go greet them as soon as they show up. He's running, hastened, over to Sarah in order to be able to tell her to get the cakes ready. He runs over to see the servant and says to the servant, "Hey, here's this cow that I picked up, filet mignon. This is what I'm talking about. This is what we're serving tonight, right here to these people. Get it ready." And then once he gets it already, he's not only 99 years old, he's pretty wealthy. He's got over 300 people that in essence work for him that are servants. He could have at any point along the way, he could have said, "You know what? I'm going to stay reclining in my tent. Go see who these people are. Go find out what they're doing here." He could have said, once he found out, "Go tell my wife. Get some stuff cooked up. Go tell my servants that oversee the cattle and the calves. Tell them to pick out a decent animal for us to be able to have a meal." He could have actually gotten the table ready. He could have actually sat down. There is no table. There's actually just a carpeting right. So he just sits down. He could have just sat down together with them. Instead, at each point of the story, he doesn't do any of that. He notices who they are. And if you go through the story, what you discover is that this is the Lord. This is God being present with him in this moment. Once again, sort of like the Adam and Eve moment, not turning him away, right? Instead, coming to him. At each point, he does. He runs. He goes. He has other people work with him in order to get things ready. And the heart behind this is the key behind the whole thing that we're looking at today. This whole noticing, this whole kindness, this whole caring, this whole compassion, this whole hospitality. It's not meant just for God. The story is here so that we can realize right here at this beginning place that this undoingness, this thing that happened back in Genesis, that's now happening later in Genesis, chapter 1 or 2, 3, versus this chapter 18, is undoing and saying, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be people that run out of the tent in order to serve. You're supposed to be the people that gather people together in order to make the difference, to step up for the other. And at each point along the way, that's what he is doing. Everybody say the word sees. Sees, all right? No, so not like sees, but sees. This isn't the only story where these types of things happen. It's not just in the Old Testament, it's in the New Testament. It's Jesus actually seeing things over and over and over again, giving us the example of saying, what does it mean to truly, truly, honestly see the other person and seek to be there for and with them? He sees this guy up in a tree. His name's Zacchaeus, and he says, Zacchaeus, come down from the tree. I see you, and I need to come to your house. I'm coming to your place. In the midst of coming to that place, the crowd that had been following him get to the place of going, what? You're going to dine with him? It literally says he's like mumbling. There's mumbling and grumbling because he's going to dine with this guy who's a tax collector. And what happens is that Jesus gets to the place of saying salvation has come to his house. To his house, to him. He sees still more. He sees his disciples out on the lake, out on the Sea of Galilee. And the winds are blowing, and the seas are getting churned up. And when he sees them struggling against the wind and against the seas, he does this really weird thing that's like, how do you do that? He walks on water. Weird, right? But he goes walking out of the water because he saw the struggle that they're facing. And as he walks out onto the water, he gets to the boat. And when he gets into the boat, calm. Calm. He brings the thing that they need because in the midst of their struggle, they're probably getting a little bit afraid. He sees a crowd of 5,000 people. All day long, he's been teaching, and these people keep getting drawn to him. More and more start coming. Not just the guys, the wives, the kids, they all start coming along, and as they're coming along, it's getting towards the end of the part of the day. And as it gets to the end part of the day, the disciples are like, you need to send these people away. Jesus says, no, don't send them away. I see what they're going through, and I can see what can happen in this moment. Feed them. Feed them. Another weird moment. He sees this young boy, and he's got this little basket, and it's got 5 pieces of bread and 2 things of fish, and he's got that stuff together, and he blesses it, and somehow, some way, through that moment of seeing the need, he addresses the need. Over and over and over again. It doesn't have to be a miracle. He sees his disciples after the resurrection. They're coming in on their boat. It's the end of the day. It's been a bad day. And he says, I cooked breakfast for you. Replenish yourself. Come be with me. Story after story of seeing. Jesus sees guys and invites us to see as well. There's an entire story focused on the idea of us being people that are supposed to see. It's the story of the Samaritan woman at the well. The story goes something like this. Jesus is coming into this town, Sychar in Samaria, and as he gets there, he's not alone. He's got his disciples with him, and they walk up to this place. They're at the well that's just outside the town. And it's right around noon. It's about lunchtime. And the disciples say, you know what? We're going to go into town, and we're going to get some food. And just as they're heading out, down the road towards the town, there's this woman that's coming up the road from the town. And Jesus is sitting there and he sees her. He sees her. And as he sees her, he starts engaging in a conversation. They start talking about her life, and she's got a lot of things going against her. A, she's a female in a patriarchal society. B, she's a Samaritan, and he's a Jewish man. They shouldn't even be talking to each other. She actually says that to him in the midst of the conversation. Why do you speak to me? She, he points out, has had many previous husbands. She is also living with somebody that's not her husband now. All these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, multiple things that could be counted against her, he sees. And what he sees is beautiful. Because when he sees her, does he condemn her to hell? Does he chase her away? Does he say you're horrible and bad? No, what he says is salvation has come to you. In spite of all that stuff, my salvation, my presence has come to you. Now here's the thing. Remember the road? Remember the road? All right. So the disciples were going one way. She was likely coming the other way around the same time, which means they probably saw each other, but they didn't see her. Are you with me? They didn't see her. And so Jesus takes the moment to say, let me turn this into a teaching moment. Because you guys need to start seeing the way that I see. You need to see people the way that I see people, to look for them, to look at the wholeness of them, the beauty of them, to be able to be face to face with them, to see them eye to eye, to hear their words, to know their stories. And so he wraps all that time up with saying these words, open your eyes and look at the fields. They are ripe for harvest. That woman is one of the things, one of the fruits of the field that was ripe for the harvest. He saw it. They walked right by her. With those words, guys, we realize that who we see isn't as important as how we see them. And with those words, we discover that if we can see with Christ's eyes, we can act with Christ's heart. And accept the people right where they're at, just the way they are, and offer them salvation. And let Jesus take it from there. I was at Disney World. We just got back from vacation. We were talking about this. So we're on vacation. We went up to South Carolina, and we saw my sister Doreen and my sister Sherry and my half-sister Brenda. We were at a campground. That was a wonderful time together for, as I explained to this group, about 3 days. Then we were like, okay, we head off, and we headed to Tallulah Gorge, and then we spent some time there, and we hiked up and down. There's 2,000 steps, something like that. I think Jeremy's been there, to go down into the gorge. We went down onto the base floor, so we got a special permit to be able to go down there to actually be able to cross the river. It was just a beautiful time. And we concluded in Orlando, all right? My son lives in Orlando, and so we go over there. But the other thing behind this particular trip was I have purchased annual passes to Disney, okay? Now, I purchased annual passes to Disney in February of 2020. You know where I'm going? All right? We shut down the church on March 13th of 2020. And so we've been holding these annual passes for multiple years. They've actually gone up in value, all right? Not just because the price of tickets has gone up, but because you can't buy these kind of tickets anymore. And we decided we're going to activate them. Let's go to Disney while we're over there. We were spending 5 days. And so we went into Epcot. We got to ride all the good rides that were there. We had a meal there. It was just a wonderful afternoon. And as we come out, we decided dinner time, let's go down to Disney Springs. So we go down to Disney Springs, and we had barbecue. Delicious. This is a whole sermon about food. Isn't it? Is it lunchtime yet? Oh, we got 15 minutes. All right. So we come out. And the thing with Disney Springs now is they have parking garages, all right? It used to just be a parking lot, but now there's multiple parking garages so they can pack even more of us in there together like sardines, right? So we park in the parking garage, and you have to take escalators in order to get up and down in the garage. And we come around, we're doing the little zigzaggy with it, and as I come around one of them, I have to stop because there's a woman and a child standing right in front of the down escalator. And they're not moving. And I'm like, what's up with that? And then I sort of step aside a little bit, and I start to look, and you see the little girl's face. And she is terrified. She's crying, and she's just trying with every fiber of her being to be able to take that step, to be able to get onto the escalator, but she can't seem to do it. And her mom's standing right by her side saying, come on, honey, you can do this, you can do this. And I come alongside, and I look at her, and I say, hi there. Do you want to jump on the escalator with me? All we got to do is say 1, 2, 3, and then we jump. And I said, 1, 2, 3, and I jumped. And she didn't. She was still back there. And Linda came behind me, and we go down the escalator. And as we're going down the escalator, we get to the bottom. And you know those like poles that they put in front of places to make sure you don't drive a car through like the front of a Target? Well, there's those types of things where the escalators hit the bottom because it's a parking lot, right? And we get down there, and I swear, the dad is down at the end, okay? And there's one of those poles. I never see his face because he looks like this. Just has his head laying on the pole. And there's the bigger sister. The bigger sister standing there just looking up at her little sister with like a, come on. Guys, I want to have those eyes. I want to have the eyes that I had in that moment more often. I want to have the eyes that when I walk around, I don't just walk past the kid. I don't walk past the mom. I want to be able to see them, and I want to be able to see that kid's eyes. I want to be able to look in the mom's eyes and see the smile on our face when I start to make it into a game. Because as I'm starting to go down, she's starting to say, do you want to jump on the escalator with me? How about if we jump, make it into a game? I want to be able to experience those moments. I want to be able to see the dad down at the end who's wrestling with maybe standing there for, I don't know, an hour and a half. I have no idea how long the guy was standing there, right? But it looked like a little while. And I want us to have those eyes. I don't want just me to have the eyes that are looking. I've been trying to get to the place where, and it wasn't related to the sermon. We've been doing it in pastoral conversations when the pastors meet on Mondays. We're trying to find ways where we connect better. Where we get to see people face to face. And maybe you've seen some of it. You see me during this service. We do it in contemporary all the time where we would walk around the room, and I'm getting to be able to greet people, right? And so I'm like, why don't we do that over here? Why don't we just sort of, I know we can only get to people typically on ends of rows, but I can still connect with people during the service that I may not have been able to catch with before the service. This morning, it was awesome. Jeremy, before the service, grabs me because we got a couple that's going through a moment where there's going to be a procedure that's done. And he's like, as I'm walking in, I'm trying to get my microphone. He's like, hey, come on over here for a minute. And he has a prayer with this couple as the gentleman's getting ready to go through a major procedure. Maybe you've noticed how on communion, we didn't just change the direction. We don't just now come up the center aisle, but you'll see a pastor on each side of the aisle now. And the whole point, guys, is to sort of live this out. It's to be able to see you, to see you face to face, to have a moment, to be able to say you're loved, to say God bless you, to say nice sweater, whatever the case may be. But for us to be able to have a moment of connection, and that if you're going through a tough moment, hopefully I can see it in your eyes, or you have the confidence to be able to say it with your voice of it's rough right now. And so we're trying to find more and more ways for us to be able to be present with others, to be available. I'm trying to do more visits, right? The danger of my position as senior pastor is that it just consumes you. And you sit at a desk. I sit at a desk for hours in a day just trying to manage. We've got 2,500 members. We've got 70-something employees. We've got a $2 million plus budget. There's all kinds of stuff related to running this thing called a church that's got a business side to it that can consume me and keep me from having the opportunity to be able to be present with you. In my heart of hearts, when I got a calling from God, it wasn't to do paperwork. Right? It wasn't to do paperwork. And yet what I did was I pawned it off on Jeremy. Okay? So now I have the ability, just kidding. He does take a part of it from me though. He takes trustees and relates to them to help free me up to be able to say that I'm aware of and I'm present at the meetings, but he takes ownership of that so that I can be more free to have moments where I visit in the hospital. And I've been trying to do that a little bit more. I've been trying to make sure they're making phone calls to people. And guys, if you're a shut-in and you watch this online and you can't get here and you want to have a visit, not just a phone visit, if you want me to come see you or if you want Jeremy to come see you, we'll do that. Call us up, send us an email. It's richard@anona.com, jeremy@anona.com, and we'll come visit and sit down with you, because that's another thing I've been doing, is trying to get out and to be able to sit with people that we don't get to connect with. And the question becomes for us, what can we do? Not just we, what can we do? How can we actually live that out? There's an Abbot Jerome Cadell, who said, this is the danger, all right? Often the other looks like an interruption, looks like a bother, looks like a problem. And he goes on to say, look again. Look again, because the other isn't a problem, isn't an interruption, isn't a bother. The other is Christ. The other is Christ. That's the story that he shared. That's the story of Abraham. How do you get to the place where you're seeking to welcome in a way that really means welcome? I see you, and we're going to live this life together in the ups and the downs and the good and the bad, and you are not alone. So I want to encourage you guys. I want to encourage you to a few things. Every once in a while, do the right thing. Do the right thing. Whatever the thing that keeps you from lifting your eyes out of the computer to see your wife walk home and know that she's going through a moment of struggle, whatever the thing is for you, whether that's a computer, whether that's a tablet, whether that's a phone, whether that's social media, whether that's a television set, whether that's a newspaper, whatever the thing is, whether it's a hobby, whatever the thing is, don't live like this with the people you love. Find moments where you actually see them, hear them, know them, and get to have that relationship. I cherish my time with Linda. I cherish that we got to go on that walk. I cherish that we got to see cardinals and woodpeckers and stinking little fish that look like me and manatees. I loved every piece of it. That's one thing we can do. 2, you can connect with people right here in the church. You can become a part of a small group. You could join our hospitality team. Guys, when we're asking for people to help out, to be a greeter at a door, to be a person that's an usher in the room, to be a person that hands out donuts. I saw donuts were back today. It was awesome. The kids had their little cups full of donuts, probably about a half dozen donuts they took from me, right, in that little cup. And I sat down with them and I got to share a moment with them. You could be the people that actually get to hand those donuts to the kid and see their eyes and go, Mom, can I have them? Right? And you get to be present in that moment. And the weird thing is that when we do that, somehow there's something that comes alive in us. Not just in them, it comes alive in us. This year, guys, this is the year. This is the year where we've lost all of our moms, Lynn and I. We've lost all of our dads. We don't have a Mother's Day above us to celebrate. And the last thing I would invite you to do is to take that relationship. Don't let Mother's Day be a day. Don't let it be a day. Don't let it just be a phone call. Try and find ways, guys, to be able to be with one another, whether it's your mom or your dad, or it's you to your kids, or you to a neighbor, you to a friend. You've got to find ways that you actually make the connections. That's the invitations. Truly see the other for who Christ sees them as. See them maybe as Christ. Love them no matter what, and seek to walk with them in that love. Let's pray. God, I want to see more kids on the edge of the escalator. I want to see my wife. I want to see what she's feeling. I want to know what she's thinking. I want to know where life's good and where life's tough. I want to know my friends. I want to walk with them in a little bit deeper way. I want to know my kids. They're all grown up, but I don't want to lose them. Help me, God, to see Christ in all others and to embrace them regardless of who they are, where they're from, what they've done, or even what they're doing. And maybe in the midst of that, God, by your grace, to be able to offer them salvation. That they might know your story, your love, your grace, and be able to offer it to others. We pray this in the name of the one who loves us unconditionally, no matter what. Jesus the Christ. And we all say, amen. So I'm sitting here looking at the aisle, and I see a lineup of walkers. Guys, those walkers weren't there a minute ago. You know why? Because our ushers know the people, and they know which walker goes with which person. They see. That's the invitation. Can you see and notice the needs of another person and be there with and for them? Did she ever jump? I don't know. I saw the man and I kept on walking. But it doesn't matter. The question is, will you? Will you jump? Will you take that last song that you just sang and take a step? And the beauty of the escalator is there ain't much more for you to do at that point. You're on a great ride that takes you to places that you need to go. May our Lord Jesus Christ take you to where you need to go. Take the step. See and love. Amen.
If you found this message meaningful, share it with others. To find more great episodes and stay up to date, subscribe to Anona United Methodist Church's podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere you find your favorite podcast shows. In addition, subscribe to our channel on YouTube and find the community on Facebook at facebook.com/Anona Church. You can join us on our campus in Largo, Florida, and discover new ways to reach out to the Pinellas County community. Be a part of the Anona Church family as we worship, grow, serve, and live.